Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janaballabha Giridharadhari. Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Giridharadhari. Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Gopi Janaballabha Giridharadhari. Jai Gopi Janaballabha Giridharadhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Mr. Bam Saparajita, Sto there's it. Shishumare si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Mishnapam Sabarajika Jaya Sto Tejata Sisi Mad Bhakti Siddhanta Haridas Thakura Prabhupada Ki Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. So don't forget that tonight, sometime during the night kirtan, we'll have our flashback to Vrindavan in 1977. You'll have to be here for the kirtan to see when it's going to happen. We have a very nice verse to recite from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, text 2. This verse glorifies the process of hearing and chanting about Krishna. And the purport highlights the proper use of the tongue and how the tongue suffers. So as we often point out in our outreach events, but certainly we can also hear it, you can judge where you're going. You can judge the quality of your life by what you're doing with your tongue. So this verse will present the pinnacle, the zenith of tongue utilization. And in discussing the perfect utilization of the tongue through hearing and chanting about Krishna, we'll discuss the external reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And bear in mind that external doesn't mean superficial. It's not, the word is not used in that sense. Those of you who are reading or have read Chaitanya Charitamrita know that chapter 3 of the Adi Lila is the external reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. And chapter 4 of the Adi Lila is the internal reasons. But external does not mean superfluous, unimportant. It means what is immediately visible. And then the internal reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, that means what is confidential and hidden. Of course, as we'll discuss, the very appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is hidden to some degree. Not completely, but to some degree. Some expertise is required to detect his presence, especially to understand his confidential mission. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. You can actually chant this verse it's the same meter as the prayers to the 6 Goswamis, especially the brahmacharis will know it well. Krishnot kirtana gana natana kala Pato Jani Brajita. Sadbhakta Valihamsa Chakra Madhupa Shreni Viharaspradam. Karananandi Kaladranir Vahatume Jiva Madhu Prangane. Sri Chaitanya Dayanade Tavalasa Lila Sudaswaduni. Krishna Kirtana Gana Natana Kala Pato Jani Brajita. Sadbhakta Valihamsa Chakra Madhupa Shreni Viharaspradam. Karnanandi Kaladranir Vahatume Jiva Madhu Prangane. Sri Chaitanya Dayanade Tavalasal Lila Sudaswaduni. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Kala Pato Jani Brajita. Sadbhakta Valihamsa Chakra Madhupa Sreni Viharaspradam. Karnanandi Kaladranir Vahatume Jiva Madhu Prangane. Sri Chaitanya Dayanade Tavalasal Lila Sudaswaduni. Vaishnavis. Krishna, of the holy name of Lord Krishna. Utkirtana, loud chanting. Gana, singing. Nartana, dancing. Kala, of the other fine arts. Pata Jani, with lotuses. Brajita, beautified. Sat Bhakta, of pure devotees. Avali, rose. Hamsa, of swans. Chakra, Chakravaka birds. Madhupa, and bumblebees. Shreni, like swarms. Vihara, of pleasure. Aspadam, the abode. Karna Anandi, gladdening the ears. Kala, melodious. Dhwani, sound. Vahatu, let it flow. My. Jiva, of the tongue. Madhu, desert-like, prangane, in the courtyard. Sri Chaitanya Dayanidhe. O Lord Chaitanya, ocean of mercy, Tava, of you, Lasat, shining, Leela Sudha, of the nectar of the pastimes, Swarduni, the Ganges. Translation. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the Nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. Purport. Our tongues always engage in vibrating useless sounds that do not help us realize transcendental peace. The tongue is compared to a desert because a desert needs a constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile and fruitful. Water is the substance most needed in the desert. The transient pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on is compared to a mere drop of water. Because although such topics have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material nature. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. Despite crying in various conferences, therefore, the desert-like tongue continues to be parched. For this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. The dryness of material happiness cannot be moistened by so-called philosophers who cry for Brahman, liberation, and similar dry speculative objects. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees, who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord to become imitation Mahaprabhus, but all cling to his lotus feet like bees that never leave a honey-soaked lotus flower. Lord Chaitanya's movement of Krishna consciousness is full of dancing and singing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is compared herein to the pure water of the Ganges, which are full of lotus flowers. The enjoyers of these lotus flowers are the pure devotees, who are like bees and swans. They chant like the flowing of the Ganges, the river of the celestial kingdom. The author desires such sweetly flowing waves to cover his tongue. He humbly compares himself to materialistic persons who always engage in dry talk, from which they derive no satisfaction. If they were to use their dry tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste sweet nectar and enjoy life. Translation again. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the Nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The rivers flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. Om Agana Chimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Someone could help me reach the water. It's in the way in the back. Thank you. If you clear up space in the front. Thank you. So how does it feel to be compared to a swan or a bumblebee? Bumblebees that cling to a honey-soaked lotus flower. Yes, that is the status of those dedicated to using their tongues for glorifying Krishna. So as we pointed out, this verse points out the problem, misuse of the tongue. And in this way, the tongue is like a desert, and no water comes through subjects of temporary material existence. Consider your life before you entered into the Harinam Sankirtan, the loud chanting and dancing, glorifying Krishna. Consider your life from the viewpoint of your tongue, from the point of analysis of your tongue. How your tongue was crying out for satisfaction, crying out for happiness, crying out for fulfillment, even just meaning, crying out for meaning to life. As a young devotee, Chaitanya Charitamrita had not yet been published, but there were excerpts being circulated. And I remember focusing on one statement in the purport, which I would always focus upon. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees. So yes, who doesn't want solace and succor and peace for their core being? But who understands that the tongue is the key to acquiring this? And also the tongue is the key for your not getting it. How are you using your tongue? The tongue is like a desert. You can't expect that any of the waters available in material existence will satisfy that desert-like tongue. Only the waters, the Nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities, only if they flow on the surface of the desert-like tongue can there be any peace, can there be any satisfaction. So you can just visualize the whole material existence. Tongues are crying out at universities, at conferences, on the social media. Tongues are crying out for satisfaction, but they'll never get it through such mundane topics. You know how everyone likes to talk about themselves. if someone asks you about yourself, at first you may try to be a bit hesitant. Who, me? I'm nothing important. But once you get going, and you feel so privileged that someone wants to hear about you and what you're going through, you feel a sense of connectivity. At last, someone wants to hear about me. My feelings, my goals, my visions, my ups, my downs. Now life has meaning. But our tongues will be never satisfied in that way. So let us focus on the Harinam Sankirtan, the congregational glorification of Krishna. Sometimes we think that Harinam Sankirtan only refers to chanting parties. That is not true. The whole process that Lord Chaitanya has given us is Harinam Sankirtan, togetherness glorification through kirtan. And kirtan doesn't simply mean music. It means any glorification of Krishna by speaking, by singing, by writing. All that is Harinam Sankirtan. So I've been thinking that many of us may not understand the origin of this Harinam Sankirtan and why we stress it. You've come here this weekend, and mostly what's going on is just tongue activities. Chanting, accompanied by dancing, and tasting prasad. So you may wonder, why is it that we are satisfied just by doing this? And then you begin to think, it's possible the whole world can be satisfied if the whole world does this. And you're right. So is this chanting and dancing just some ritual? Is it just something we do because that's what Hare Krishnas do? No, it is very scientific. Those of you who have studied the Shastra, you know that for every particular age or yuga, there's a specific process of self-realization, of spiritual attainment of perfection. Just like you get a medical prescription from the doctor and you take it to the chemist. Similarly, whatever yuga, whatever age you're born in, there is a particular path of spiritual perfection. As you know, in Satya Yuga, the official path was meditation. Because you had a lifespan of 100,000 years, you could easily spend 60,000 years in samadhi, no problem. Then there's Treta Yuga, and the process is elaborate, massive yagyas, sacrifices, sacrificial rituals beyond anything you could conceive of today, because the vast amount of precious gems and other resources needed is you won't find today. And then in Dwapara Yuga, the process is deity worship, opulent deity worship, far beyond anything that you've seen today. But what about the age of Kali, which destroys all the virtues of human beings? As stated in the first canto, Manda Sumanda Mateo Manda Bhagya Yurpadruta. Everyone in the age of Kali is plagued, not simply by COVID or this disease or that disease. They're plagued by being slow and stupid. Yet they think that they're making progress. That's the amazing thing. You can just see today, as human beings destroy the earth and also threaten to destroy each other through nuclear weapons, they think they are the pinnacle of creation. They think they have made so much progress. Their mental health is a mess. They're destroying the environment. They've made the goal of life simply economic prosperity. And in this way, they're destroying themselves, destroying their habitat. So as the sages at Naimisharanya predicted, this will be the state of affairs in the age of darkness, the age of Kali. There are two types of persons in the age of Kali: the slow and the super slow. What do you mean slow, you could say? Look at all the innovations, look at all the technological developments. But the sages at Naimisharanya mean slow about spiritual realization. And of course, what will everyone say about that? Well, what does that matter? Just give me a few years of happiness, even a few moments of happiness, and that's a life. I'll call it a life. Give me a few nice romantic experiences, even though they don't last. Give me a few family members who will value me, at least temporarily. This is the darkness of the age of Kali. And the main problem is we're always in a state of disturbance. Always in anxiety about something. So much so that we take that as normal. And that's why people can't exist without intoxication, because they're so drowning in anxiety. And then, as you drown in anxiety, what do you look for to get relief? The body. Oh, the body looks so promising. When in doubt, indulge your body. You'll find peace, you'll find wholesomeness, you'll find fulfillment. But this is Durashaya, as Prahlad Maharaj says. Bad shelter. Bad shelter, Durashaya, means you take shelter of something and it destroys you. Very graphic example Srila Prabhupada gave was a little child crawls to the mother, and the mother picks up the little infant, puts the infant on her lap, and the infant, now I'm safe. Now everything is fine. And the infant goes to sleep on the mother's lap. And then what? The mother cuts the head off. That's Durashaya. So we take shelter of the body, thinking through bodily indulgence, at least it's something to do. And we think that we'll find contentment. In Kali Yuga especially, this taking shelter of the body is so prominent. In terms of sensual indulgence, and also in terms of attempts for unity, brotherhood, sisterhood, peace, philanthropy. It's all about the body. as if the body has some kind of special unifying ingredient. People think like this because they don't know any better. This is the darkness of ignorance. Let's unite based on genderism or ethnocentrism or this ism, that ism. They think that body stuff has some intrinsic harmonizing agency. So I often explain, we can't hear it enough, that there are 5 basic material illusions that in the age of Kali people think they're not illusions, they are the glue that keeps people together. Class, country, creed, color, culture, all these this material quintet changes all the time. But people grab on to any one of these 5. Oh, we are from the same culture. Naturally, we'll get along. Or we are from the same country. We'll bond. We have the same skin color. Therefore, togetherness. Together we stand. There's some hypnotic effect of these bodily designations known in Sanskrit as upadi. We think that within each one of them is some special elixir that will keep people together. If you just get all the people of the same country together, there'll be unity, harmony, and peace. If you get all the people of the same ethnicity together, there'll be universal brotherhood. What about gender? Whatever gender you think you are, unite. There's strength in that. But when you analyze this situation, this durashaya, this bad shelter, you see that any so-called unity and harmony is just an illusion, complete illusion. Even material intelligence can understand this. There's nothing in bodily designations that can truly hold people together. There's only the appearance of that. Maybe some of you have been part of some body identification movement. And you saw what was going on. At first it seemed so powerful. We are all together. We of the same ethnicity, gender, class, or political view. We are all together. Yay! But the so-called unity just crumbles, disappears before your very eyes. But people fall for this again and again and again. Let's get together on the material platform. There's the illusion that it will work. And this is Maya's same game plan again and again and again. Get together on the material platform. There'll be strength. There'll be meaningfulness. There'll be fulfillment when you bond with others of your same upadi, of your same material designation. You'll feel a sense of strength. You'll feel meaning in life. I'm of this kind of body. Yeah, right. All power to me. At first, it seems like it's going to work, doesn't it? And you see people in the world going the same route, century after century, just like what's happening today. Hey, wake up, recognize you're the body. And your problem is that someone's offended your body or doesn't understand your body. That's the problem. They don't understand your gender, whatever you think it is. They've offended your gender. They don't understand your ethnicity. They don't understand the needs of your economic class. Just like in New Zealand. The landlord class says, oh, make things favorable for us and we'll solve the housing problem. And the tenants say, make things favorable for us and then there'll be no housing problem. So this is class warfare. So wherever there is this illusion that by taking shelter of your material identity, of whatever one you choose, there'll be fulfillment, there'll be unity, there'll be world peace. It's like you see what you think is a flowing river and you jump in, but actually it's a ditch. And you just break your head. So this is the nature of the age of darkness. There's no self-realization, no movement of the individual toward genuine progress, and people are willing to just die in ignorance. Can you remember being like that? You were willing to die in ignorance. Just let me have a few good times, a few nice love affairs. Even though it doesn't last, it's all right. Let me have some awesome moments. And I'll call it a life. So how can there be any kind of spiritual advancement in such a time of madness? But yet you have an amazing thing, an inconceivable thing going for you. You have taken birth right after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna comes, as you know, once every day of Brahma. Brahma's day and night equal 8,640,000,000 years. So every once of those 24 hours of Brahma's life, Krishna appears at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, the preceding Yuga. And then, in the Kali Yuga immediately following, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. So that was just a little more than 500 years ago. So you've taken birth at this time of massive world problems. At the same time, you're taking birth right after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who does not come every Kali Yuga, only one. For those of you who want details, where's Damodar Krishna? He's here. Okay, ready for a detail? There's a Yuga avatar in every Yuga, every Kali Yuga, but not Lord Chaitanya every Kali Yuga. The Yuga avatar in other Kali Yugas is an empowered living entity, an Avesh. Generally blackish, sometimes green. But during the Yuga that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, that Avesh, that Jiva merges with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Mahaprabhu is Swayam Bhagavan, Karna Karna, the cause of all causes. So yes, every Kali Yuga, there's a Yuga avatar. But this is a special Kali Yuga that only happens once every 8,640,000,000 years. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself has appeared. So what are the obvious reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance? To spread the Harinam Sankirtan, the process of congregational chanting and dancing. Number one. Number two, Krishna, who appeared approximately 5,000 years ago, is thinking, and his thinking is revealed in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Besides doing the necessary to maintain the universe, to establish what is Dharma, besides that, there's something else I'd like to do, which I haven't done for so long, and that is to distribute knowledge of Braj Bhakti, the love of the residents of Vrindavan, to distribute that kind of knowledge and to explain it. Then reason number three, the cry of the devotees, especially Advaita Acharya, who looked around at the time and as Bhakta Avatar, as the incarnation of a devotee, Advaita Acharya, seeing the fallen circumstances of humanity, thought, this is not able to be fixed even by an incarnation or an expansion or a plenary portion. The Supreme Lord Swayam Bhagavan, the origin of all avatars, has to come himself. So Advaita Acharya, with loud cries, called out for the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is very significant. Advaita Acharya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, expansion of an expansion. But he's thinking, this job is too difficult. The cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam, has to come himself. But you see, it's not only that Advaita Acharya is thinking this world situation is too difficult. Of course, that is Advaita Acharya's humility, but he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's an expansion of an expansion of an expansion. But out of humility, he's thinking that way. And also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is being called for because he has another purpose. So as we were explaining, Krishna is thinking, everyone's worshiping me with awe and reverence, elaborate rituals done under regulation. You must do this, you must do that. That doesn't satisfy me as much as when my friends in Braj jump on my shoulders and say, carry me, you're no big man. Or when my girlfriends in Braj chastise me and call me a cheater. That's what I like, more than these official hymns of the Vedas. So Krishna is thinking, for a long time I haven't distributed that kind of understanding of the superiority of Vrindavan Bhakti, the spontaneous love, devoid of thinking. I'm worshiping him because he's God. In Vrindavan, no one thinks Krishna is God. And that's why Krishna likes it. That's one reason why he likes it so much. He can play. He can romance. He can relish parental affection, all by the topmost pure devotees who are unencumbered, unburdened by thinking, this is God. I often point out that you would probably think, oh, it'd be so wonderful to be worshipped 24/7. I think about this whenever there's a the necessary Vyasa Puja ceremony. You don't know what it's like to be burdened with 20 garlands. Especially containing flowers you're allergic to. And then you're worried, will the flowers stain your clothes? So you may think it's so wonderful to sit there and hear devotees' glorification, which, yes, it is proper that they do that. But all the time, one has to think, this is all the glory of the parampara. I'm just a tiny, humble servant. So you would normally think in Kali Yuga consciousness, it'd be so wonderful to be worshipped all the time. But Krishna, as the supreme enjoyer, knows better. It's wonderful to play with my friends in the forest, to sport with my friends. It's wonderful to go swimming in the water, especially with my girlfriends. It's wonderful to receive parental love from Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. The kind of love that's unencumbered, unburdened by formality of any understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think I've explained before how it's known that very rich, famous persons, for example, like Bill Gates, sometimes he puts on a disguise and goes out into the city and mixes with people just to feel what it's like to be a regular Joe. So he has to do that. In Seattle, he'll just don regular attire and make sure he's not recognized. Go to a cafe, go to a restaurant, go to some social gathering place and just be with one of the people like a normal guy. Otherwise, every time he reveals himself, people are, oh, one of the world's richest men. Oh, can you do this for me? I've got a deal for you. In fact, this is one of the topmost killers of persons who win huge amounts of money in the lottery. They've won, like, in the US, you can win like 200, 300 million US dollars. And most of them will later complain. I don't know who my friends are. I don't know whether they want to be with me because of my good qualities or they want to be with me because of my money. They all say the same thing. After we won the lottery, so many long-lost relatives showed up at our door. I'm your third cousin, by the way. And so some of them actually commit suicide. You would think, you won $400 million. Why you want to commit suicide? They can't handle just, who are my real friends? Who really loves me? Is my partner just attached to me because of my money? So their wealth is a burden. So in this way, you can start to understand how Krishna feels burdened by all this awe and reverence, Vaikuntha worship. Worship like for Lakshmi Narayan. Oh, Krishna likes spontaneous love. Why do you like me? Because I'm unlimitedly attractive. Not because I'm God. So Vrindavan is full of sweetness, of spontaneous love, devoid of formality, devoid of awe and reverence majesty, opulence, power, like Vaikuntha. So Krishna is thinking, it's time for me to spread the Yuga Dharma, the process of self-realization for the age of Kali, which is Harinam Sankirtan. Simultaneously, I've got another agenda, which is still external. But remember, external doesn't mean unimportant or superfluous. It means what is easily seen. So what is that other goal? To explain the loving relationships with Krishna. In Dasya, servitude, Sakya, friendship, Vatsalya, parental, and Shringar, romantic. These relationships are the pillars of material existence, but they're present in material existence in a perverted way. Therefore, talks about such material relationships seem to have some attractiveness and value, but you'll never be satisfied. But they seem to have some attractiveness because they're based on the pure relationships of the spiritual world. So people, as you've heard before, they're looking for rasa, they're looking for flavor in their friendship relationships, servitude relationships, parental relationships, romantic relationships. They're looking for rasa, the taste, which seems to be there because the shadow is based on substance, but the substance is on the spiritual platform. So just think, Krishna wants everyone to taste the real relationships, relationships beyond even Vaikuntha worship, beyond the awe and reverence and majesty of Lakshmi Narayana and the Vaikuntha planets. Krishna wants to disseminate knowledge and explain that knowledge of the sweetness of Vrindavan and its loving affairs, in which no one, as we explained, no one thinks Krishna is God. They just think he's our everything. So that's the second reason that's apparent, readily apparent, why Krishna decides to come as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And only Krishna himself can explain this. The fairs of Vrindavan, only Krishna can explain it. The other avatars, the other incarnations can't do it. It's something Krishna, as Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality Godhead, does himself. Only Krishna can do it, as Shyam Sundar. Does it mean the other incarnations, the other expansions are deficient? No. Each incarnation, each expansion is Om Purnam, perfect and complete, but they don't show all of what Krishna shows. Just like when Krishna apparently leaves Vrindavan and goes to Dwarka, or goes to Mathura and then Dwarka, he keeps private to himself his Braj affairs. Because Mathura brings on an influence of awe and reverence to some degree, and then Dwarka certainly brings on the awe and reverence. So that same Krishna keeps his Braj stuff tucked away. He's the same Krishna, he's Swayam Bhagavan, but he's not revealing the sweetness of his behavior in Braj. So Krishna himself can only Krishna can explain this. So that's the second reason. First is Harinam Sankirtan. Second, explain Braj Bhakti. And third, because of the prayers of devotees, especially the prayers of Advaita Acharya. But let's focus on the first reason, the chanting and dancing. Through this chanting and dancing, you taste love of Krishna. Don't think it's going to come from somewhere else. Even at the highest stages of spiritual advancement, everything comes to you through the congregational chanting and dancing, through the kirtan. Srila Bhakti Haridas Thakura, in one of his famous poems, wrote that first you achieve your swarup. You understand your original spiritual identity from within, while you're within the kirtan. And only then can you go off on your own for some kind of solitary bhajan. So the self-realization of your eternal constitutional position as Krishna's servant, Krishna's friend, Krishna's parent, Krishna's lover, that comes to you from within the kirtan. So the kirtan has so many different levels, from the most beginning experience to the most advanced experience. It's all going on in the kirtan. Now, one interesting fact is that even a neophyte devotee can be known as a pure devotee. How is that? This is explained in one purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That if the neophyte devotee strictly follows the orders of the spiritual master, follows the instructions of the spiritual master, that neophyte is a pure devotee. You say, wait a minute, how can a neophyte be a pure devotee? By virtue of his or her following strictly. Just like you say to a little child, who's the smallest child here? How old are you? 10? So if your parent tells you, this is a wireless microphone, you don't understand what a wireless microphone is, do you? But if you simply repeat what your parent says, and this is a wireless microphone, you're exactly correct. But you don't know how it works. But just by your saying what it is, you're correct. So even a neophyte who strictly follows the instructions of the spiritual master is a pure devotee by virtue of their holding on to those instructions. More particularly, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, if the neophyte accepts that Krishna is the same as his name, that neophyte is a pure devotee. So now you're saying, well, I thought pure devotee was like something out of this world. But they're different levels, just like with a mango. A mango is always a mango, whether unripe or ripe, but they're different degrees of ripeness. But still, it's a mango, right? So they're different degrees of purity. But still, if the neophyte accepts that Krishna is the same as his name, that's a pure devotee. And if the neophyte continues to follow the process of bhakti, he or she will become more ripe. That means the mango becomes more and more sweet. Just like today and yesterday. I was served some particular fruit that's a little tangy. What is it? Balaramacharya would know. Pijoa. Are pijoa supposed to be sweet or not? Well, the ones they serve me are quite tangy. But still, it's a pijoa, right? And I can taste a tiny bit of sweetness there. But it's obviously not a ripe pijoa. But still, it's a pijoa. And there is some attractiveness there, although I wouldn't eat it. I did eat it. I didn't say, take this away. So there's something there. It's just not the full state of ripeness. So watching the devotees chant and dance last night, I was thinking, these are pure devotees. Seeing Gabby jump up and down, urged onward by Jade. This is Lord Chaitanya's pure devotional movement. If they keep this up all their life, they go back to Godhead. But what about the material world? Isn't it always presenting obstacles? We think, I'll just chant and dance and take prasad. But don't forget, this is a world of impediments. It seems that there can be impediments to your spiritual life. But if we learn how to use every situation to increase our attachment for chanting and dancing, taking prasad, in the association of devotees, we become victorious. Consider the famous Leela of Haridas Thakura in prison. Haridas Thakura would wander here and there, just chanting Hare Krishna loudly. Sometimes he would roar, sometimes he would cry, sometimes he would fall on the ground. Word got to the Qazi, the Mohammedan administrator, because at that time, the Muslims from the West who were ruling Bengal. So this particular Qazi was very evil. He couldn't stand that Haridas Thakura, who was born in a Muslim family, was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The Qazi saw everything in terms of sectarian religion. You're a Hindu, you're a Muslim, you should be hating each other. What's going on here? The Qazi was on the platform of duality. There's the Hindu God and there's the Mohammedan God. Haridas Thakura is born in a very nice Mohammedan family, but he's associating with low-class people. He's given up his birthright and is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So the Qazi informed the king, and the king said, bring him under arrest. So the devotees of the area were simultaneously happy and distressed. They're happy because they had witnessed Haridas Thakura's attachment for chanting Hare Krishna. But they were distressed knowing that Haridas Thakura was now under arrest and would be sent to prison. So try to understand their feelings. Simultaneous happiness. We just witness and experience his amazing chanting. At the same time, he's being arrested and sent to prison. Oh, no. So when the word spread in prison that Haridas Thakura was coming as a prisoner, you can just understand what the prisoners were thinking. A Paramahansa, a devotee of the highest caliber. What will he do? What do you think? He will reduce all our suffering in prison. He'll do something about our material situation. I was explaining in Melbourne. We had a university program last week. And shockingly, 450 students showed up at the University of Melbourne. 99% of them not from Bharat. 450 students. So I was talking to the people after the program ended, and there were a few persons from India, very few, maybe 1%. But one young man came up to me and said, "My mother told me that I should come to this program, talk to you, and get blessings." I said, "Well, I only give blessings to become Krishna conscious." He looked at me, "Oh," he went away. So the prisoners were thinking, Haridas Thakura is coming to our prison, and we're suffering in prison. It'll mean at least liberation from prison. It'll mean somehow or other our material suffering is reduced. All glories to Haridas Thakura. And so the prisoners appealed to the guards, "Please, please, let us be where Haridas Thakura is." So the guards felt flattered and said, all right. So when Haridas Thakura entered the prison, the prisoners all paid their obeisances, and some of them were demonstrating ecstatic symptoms just by venerating Haridas Thakura in that way. Haridas Thakura glanced over them, and then he said a very surprising thing to the prisoners. It sounded very ambiguous, very paradoxical. What does he really mean? He looked at them and said, "Stay as you are. Stay right there where you are." The prisoners were what is this? They're dejected. Stay as we are? Stay right here? What does he mean? They understood that Haridas Thakura was saying to them, just stay in prison. Stay in your present imprisonment circumstances. So they were all totally deflated. But then Haridas Thakura gave them an explanation, smiling in a mysterious way. He said, "I've glanced upon you. The glance of a devotee is always full of auspiciousness. When I said, stay as you are, I was addressing your mind. Right now in prison, you can focus on Krishna without distraction. So I was telling your mind, okay, just stay right there." It's not that I was saying stay in prison, so to speak. I was pointing out that in your present circumstances, you have the advantage of focusing completely on Krishna without any bad association. Outside the prison, you're imprisoned by so much bad association, so many material circumstances. Inside prison, you've got nothing to do except together chant Hare Krishna. So that's why I said, stay right there. Stay right in this present situation. So then Haridas Thakura explained, I didn't mean that you had to stay in prison. I'm pointing out that right now your mind has such an advantage. Together you all are chanting Hare Krishna. But outside prison, you could be subject to so much material association, material influence. So recognize where your mind is at right now. Focused on Krishna. Stay right there. And then as an aside, as a kind of side issue, he said, and by the way, you'll all be out of prison in 3 days. So what would you say? Okay, now you're talking. Okay. Now it's something practical. So you can see that there are two differing levels, two differing understandings of practicality. There's Shreyas and Preyas. There's the ultimate goal and the immediate goal. The prisoners were just thinking of the immediate goal. Get us out of prison. We're tired of suffering. What does Haridas Thakura mean by just stay right there? But Haridas Thakura was primarily addressing the ultimate situation. Right now, you're in pure Krishna consciousness. If you go out of prison, I don't know what's going to happen to you. You'll be caught up in the world again. And he explained to them that the nature of material enjoyment is that you make the same mistake again and again and again. As Shukadeva Goswami says in the second canto, Pashyanapi na pashyati. You see, but you don't see. You're experienced, but actually you're inexperienced. You never learn. So that's why Haridas said, just stay where you are now. He's addressing their mind. Right there. Hold it right there. Keep your mind in its present state. So this may be a little difficult to understand because we would be overwhelmed by the immediate circumstances. Just get me out of prison. Whether I'm Krishna conscious or not doesn't matter. Just get me out of here. But Haridas Thakura is saying the most important thing is what your consciousness is right now. Stay right there. Keep your mind focused on Krishna. Everything else is external, of little importance comparatively. And anyway, all right, you get out of prison in a few days. I'll see to that. So you can see the different visions. So to understand Lord Chaitanya as the prime benefactor, you have to know what is your real benefit. Otherwise, you can be overwhelmed by material circumstances. And when is Lord Chaitanya going to do something about my material circumstances? And you forget all about what is the prime benediction. So the external reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. External does not mean superfluous, unnecessary. It means what is easily seen from the outside. But tomorrow we may touch upon what is not so easily seen, the internal reasons. What happened was that the internal reason combined with the time for understanding and displaying the external reasons. The two happen to coincide. And therefore, you have the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, who, yes, does the work, so to speak, of the Yuga avatar, presenting the process of self-realization for this particular time, but he's also doing something else that's hidden, that's confidential. So we may talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Just remember, Krishna is thinking to himself, I haven't explained Vrindavan Bhakti for a long time. Without Vrindavan Bhakti, I'm not satisfied. Just awe and reverence and worship. Sometimes we read that Krishna says, devotional service hindered by rules and regulations doesn't please me so much. That means you don't have to follow the regular principles. It's not referring to no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication when you read regulations. It's referring to like when you do deity worship according to a rigid schedule and format. Not so much anything coming from the heart, but because you're supposed to do like this and that. Because in bhakti, there are two phases. Number one is the therapeutic phase, and number two is the relishing phase. If you jump to the relishing phase without going to the therapeutic phase, you can make a mess of yourself. But at least you should know that there is a relishing stage. And that's what Krishna is referring to in terms of devotional service beyond rules and regulations. It doesn't mean beyond that you drop the four regular principles. As I explained, practically every initiation, the vow to follow the four regular principles does not make you transcendental. It makes you a human being. It's the Harinam, Sankirtan, that makes you transcendental. All right, any questions? Yes. Not very important, but has some usefulness. Because you are not the body, you're not the mind, but you have a particular psychophysical conditioning. So it's interesting to know what your psychophysical conditioning is. It's not very mysterious to understand. Because in the age of Kali, everything is a mess. Everything is a mess, meaning everything is a mixture. So most devotees that you see, they are a mix. Bit of propensity for making money, a bit of propensity for doing things with their hands, a bit of propensity for reading the books. Gradually, as you advance in bhakti, your material situation becomes more clarified. It's still your material situation. It's not spiritual. So as you become an older devotee, you start to realize, I like acting in a certain way. It feels more comfortable for me. But that may take some time. In any case, you're not the body. So, in answer to your question again, it's valuable but not important to understand what your varna is. And you may be doing several things at once in terms of your propensities. Does that help you? Anything else? Yes.
When we chant our rounds properly, I think the service can be empowered.
Chanting means just vibrate with the tongue and hear. That's proper chanting. When you're chanting, you're just vibrating and hearing, because Krishna is present fully as his name. That's why I'm explaining that. Even a neophyte who understands that Krishna is the same as his name is a pure devotee. So when you're chanting, there's just Krishna in his fullness. Krishna's the same as his name. He's present as his name. What more do you need? That is humility. You can have some aspirations. For example, before you chant, before you start chanting, you can have some aspirations about pure chanting, about engaging in Krishna service. But then when it's time to chant, it's just all about being in the presence of Krishna. You don't need to clutter it up with anything else. Otherwise, you're implicitly thinking there's something deficient about the chanting process. I have to bring something else into the equation. You don't. So, all right, before you start chanting, you can prepare your state of mind by expressing some aspiration. But then when it's time to chant, you're just hearing because you're in Krishna's presence. That's why during the kirtan, when everyone's getting into their ecstatic dancing, I always look and make sure they're chanting. And if they stop chanting and just start throwing each other around, I'll probably say something. Because our process is chanting and dancing together. They go together. Anything else? Yes? Someone raise their hand? Yeah, we'll sing out. Well, you'll do. We're human beings. Let's not be fanatics. We're human beings, but we're a spirit soul having a human experience. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're not going to go around policing each devotee. Do you like being understood? Are you getting pleasure by being understood? Human beings like to be understood, but don't hanker for that in a way that is unfavorable for your devotional service. But, you want to be understood by your partner, you want to be understood by your friends, by your relatives. Then you hope to have children who will understand you, and you hope to understand them. We're human beings. But just like in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, this is Arjuna showing his human side. But then chapter 1 changes to chapter 2. And then by the time you reach the end of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, Nashta moha smritir labda karishe vachanam tava. Krishna, my illusion's now gone. I'll act according to what you say. But it's different in chapter 1. So everyone has their chapter 1 experiences, Oh, Krishna, no one understands me. Oh. But don't make it into a fetish. You know what I mean? The fact is, in the age of Kali, sometimes you'll be misunderstood, at least. You don't like that? You took birth in the wrong age. Especially when someone dear to you doesn't show full understanding of you. You have to tolerate that, right? So just don't make it into a huge thing. Just be practical about it. Anything else?
You mentioned that a mango is a mango whether it's in a ripe or unripe state. I was thinking in terms of our devotional service as a devotee, how can we have understanding that we're on the mango sort of path?
That's why we have guidance. I always explain, Bhakti is a guidance culture. The more guidance you have, the more wealthy you are. Yes.
In the Yuga, the Kali Yuga is when Lord Chaitanya. In the Kali Yuga is when Lord Chaitanya isn't present. How is the Sankirtan and Bhakti corrected?
Only Lord Chaitanya distributes and explains Braj Bhakti. And the other Kali Yugas, no. The Yuga avatar can advocate chanting the name of Narayan or Vishnu, but Mahaprabhu just advocates Krishna, Krishna. That's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita you read that Krishna's thinking, I haven't distributed this in a long time. And Krishna himself personally has to do it. Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality, got it, not an expansion. Only Krishna himself can explain and distribute Vrindavan Bhakti. Now, things get more interesting when you take into account Navadvip Dham. Because unless you can see Vrindavan in Navadvip, you're not ready for Vrindavan. This is explained by Prabodhananda Saraswati, the uncle of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He says that if you think you know Krishna, but you don't know Gauranga, you don't know Krishna. If you think you're attracted to Vrindavan, but you don't understand Navadvip, you don't know anything about Vrindavan. So what's happening is that the mercy of Radha and Krishna, because Gauranga is Radha Krishna combined, the mercy of Radha and Krishna appears in two ways. Combining as Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and also combining to appear as Navadvip Dham. So to understand Krishna, well, I'll make it easy for you. To understand Krishna, you have to understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Radha Krishna combined. And to understand Vrindavan, you have to understand Navadvip, because Navadvip Dham is the combined mercy of Radha and Krishna. All All right, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Anything else? Yes.
So, talk about Bhakti is the type of Bhakti that pleases Krishna the most.
But you have to be qualified for it. Otherwise, you please him the least.
But simultaneously, Krishna is obviously the reservoir of all pleasure. How can we both be responsible for Krishna's pleasure when he already has and possesses all pleasure?
He already has.
All pleasure is the reservoir of all of it. How can we be responsible for his pleasure?
He's self-sufficient, and his pleasure is always expanding, but he wants you to partake of that ever-expanding pleasure. And he puts himself in a situation in which you can contribute to his pleasure, even though you're just his part. Everything is ultimately Krishna and his energy. So he's always self-sufficient. But you get the chance to participate in this. What do you think? That's what the Harinam Sankirtan is all about. The congregational chanting and dancing is all about group glorification of Krishna. And according to the sincerity of the chanters, that's how much Krishna will be present. So let us not make the mistake of thinking that the chanting and dancing is just something young devotees do. It's true, as you get older, the body becomes less amenable for jumping up and down, but you can dance with your tongue. You can always move your tongue. So don't make a mistake of thinking, it's just something they do at the Bhakti lounge. No, this is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And remember today's verse about the tongue crying out for moisture, crying out in conferences, at universities, at the workplace. Your tongue is crying out. And then you hope for relief with some entertainment, some indulgence. But the soul can only be solaced by Lord Chaitanya and his devotees. So we want to be like bees that always cling to a honey-soaked lotus flower. If you lose your attachment for hearing and chanting and kirtan, you've lost your life. Because you're not going anywhere in Kali Yuga except down. So you know there's a problem when you see a devotee who's lost the taste for chanting and dancing and hearing about Krishna, glorifying Krishna. There's a problem. And where is that devotee going to get solace from? You have to turn to the material energy. Oh, I'll be successful in the workplace. It's time for me to take care of my career as all in all. Maybe I need a new partner. My current partner is too devotional. Then you know there's a problem. So I was watching the kirtan last night, watching Gabby dance, and I was praying to Krishna. If I can always be like that. She can always be like that also. It's up to her. Who was it? I sent a picture of my doing book distribution in 1975. Was it Dina Pollock? I said, yeah. I look at that picture and say, wow, what happened to me? I was fired up then. You shared it? Of course, I know. We always think, I can do better in Krishna consciousness. I did better in the past. Let me do better now. So I want to emphasize today that this chanting and dancing is not sentimental. This is what impersonalists think. And they accuse Lord Chaitanya of being a sentimentalist. They don't understand the Yuga Dharma, the authoritativeness of the prescription. So if you can't do anything else in the kirtan, you can dance with your tongue. You can raise just both hands in the air. And there's gratitude that I'm able, Krishna's allowing me to be present in this kirtan. And there's nothing more important than this. Sometimes there are ups and downs due to the movements of the mind. Sometimes there are ups and downs in our spiritual life. If you want to revive your enthusiasm, associate with enthusiastic devotees. That's the easiest way to get back into the groove, so to speak. What happens is that our bhakti lata, our devotional creeper, becomes caught in the overgrowth of weeds. Weeds mean material motivations, material desires. If you don't weed your garden, what happens? The weeds overpower the good plants, the bhakti lata, the devotional creeper. So part of the bhakti process is nourishing your devotional creeper with hearing and chanting and watching out for the weeds. The result of the weeds overtaking your devotional creeper is that you lose your taste. Everything seems to be dry in bhakti. Oh, devotees, all they do is talk about Krishna. They act like no one else has any value. It's a big world out there. It's time for me to seek my fulfillment once again in the material world. At the workplace, the non-devotees appreciate good when you do your job nicely. Yeah. We lose our special vision. And it is a special vision because what Lord Chaitanya is giving is special. One last question. Yes? In time, you're looking at a few short years and thinking, well, what's happening? But the Sankirtan movement has started on Earth, and gradually it will cover the whole universe. So Mahaprabhu set that in motion, starting on the Earth planet, and then it gradually proceeds throughout the universe. But you're thinking, well, it hasn't happened yet. But what you call a significant amount of time is nothing in the when compared to eternal time. Your eye blink of a lifetime is nothing. So you have to see the potential and the actual irrelevance of the time factor when compared to eternal time. So right, in the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila, it says the universe is already flooded. What? The potential has been unlocked. Just like you take an unripe mango, you put it on the windowsill. You know what's going to happen. So what do you think when you see the mango on your windowsill? It's not ripe yet, but you know, this mango looks good. Soon it'll be ready. It's rightly positioned. It's on your windowsill in the sun. Similarly, the universe is already flooded. We're in the golden age of Lord Chaitanya. But we want to see everything according to our limited perception of time. Just like the Shastra says, as soon as the tongue touches the holy name, there's an effect. And anyone who says the name Krishna once is the best among persons. All right, it may take a few lifetimes for that person to realize the benefit. But what is a few lifetimes? How many years is that, especially in the age of Kali? So unconsciously, we're imposing our conceptions of time on such matters. Universe is already flooded. I don't see that the earth is already flooded with Krishna Bhakti. But Chaitanya Charitamrita is spoken by liberated souls, and it's actually meant for liberated souls, those who have vision beyond time and space. Therefore, you're reading such exalted, out-of-this-world things like Krishna thinking, for a long time, I haven't bestowed understanding of Vrindavan Bhakti. What to do? How do you put that within the context of time and space? So remember Haridas Thakura and his enigmatic, paradoxical statement to the prisoners. Stay right there. Just stay where you are right now. They were disappointed at first. What is this? We expect to get a benediction that we get out of jail, that our suffering in prison is reduced, and he's telling us, stay where you are right now. Then Haridas Thakura explained, I'm talking to your mind. Right now, your mind is favorably fixed on Krishna. Stay right there. Prison or not is actually not the main thing. And what do we think? It is the main thing. Give us a material benediction. Get us out of suffering. And Haridas Thakura said, it'll happen, okay. But it's not the main thing. In 3 days, you all will be out of prison. You can just imagine the response. Okay, finally he gets down to something practical. We get a material benediction. But Haridas Thakura was focusing on the spiritual reality as the most practical. He said, unless you're fixed in bhakti, when you leave prison, you can just fall down and make the same mistake of material enjoyment again and again. Therefore, I say, stay where you are right now. I'm talking to your mind. Stay in Krishna consciousness. Never mind your external circumstances. But all right. You'll get out of jail in 3 days. So he appealed to their spiritual identity. At the same time, he acknowledged the human side. All right. But we make a big thing out of that, don't we? Yeah. Why did you wait to the end to say that? You should have said it from the beginning. That's the real deal. Get us out of suffering. But Haridas Thakura was very expert in his delivery. The main thing is your spiritual development. What's the use if you leave prison and you're subject to so much material influence and you fall down? What's the use? Better you stay in prison. We don't want to hear that. So you could see Haridas Thakura's multi-layered approach. All right. Hare Krishna.